Welcome to Life Unpacked with Mel Ryan and our new series, Life Bombs. This is a series about the moments that change everything, the moments that shatter the life we thought we were living and force us to see ourselves differently. Across 9 real stories, we unpack the truth behind grief, abuse, addiction, affairs, miscarriage, loss, love, and joy, and everything in between. These conversations are honest, raw, and unedited, because life is unedited. Each episode invites you to look at your own story with more compassion and less judgment, to notice the patterns that you've been repeating, to understand what you've been working on your whole life, and to finally say, I've got me. If you're ready to hear real stories, to grow with others, and to see yourself more clearly than ever before, this series is for you. This is Life Bombs. This is Life Unpacked with Mel Ryan. Welcome back to Life Unpacked with Mel Ryan, the Life Bomb series. Today's podcast is one of the most transformational stories in the series because it shows what is possible when someone is willing to truly unpack their story, not just talk about what happened, but understand how it shaped them. Amila's story is layered, honest, and deeply courageous. It touches on anxiety, abuse, and the experience of not knowing who you are or how to connect with yourself, and how feeling safe, even inside yourself, was not possible. What makes this episode so powerful isn't just what Amila has lived through, but the work she's done to understand herself. This is a story about what happens when you stop running from your past and start listening to what it's been trying to show you. In this podcast, together we explore how trauma shapes the choices we make, how it lives in the body, how anxiety can become a constant companion, and how losing connection with yourself often begins long before we realize it. We also talk about how the love of a child can be the catalyst for changing how we support and love ourselves, and how the intensity of that love is powerful enough to help you break generational trauma patterns. Before we begin, I want to offer a gentle trigger warning. This episode may create an emotional response, especially if you have experienced any form of abuse. Please support yourself as you listen, pause when you need to, and get help if you need it. Emotional reactions are not a sign that something is wrong. They're information. They show us what still needs to be understood in our own stories. As with all the podcasts with Mel, there is no judgment here for any of the people we talk about, only curiosity, compassion, the big picture, and truth of their own stories. This episode is not about reliving trauma. It's about understanding it so it no longer controls you. This is Amila's story.
Why I wanted to do a podcast with you is because you have such an incredible story, as we both know. And in the podcast that I've done with a few other people, so it's a series of 9, we talk about a little bit about your childhood and your position in the family, because what we're doing is we're unpacking you and your story to pull out the word, what you're working on. You know a lot of this as well. We've done this. Your self-insight is totally incredible. And so again, it can go where it needs to go. And it kind of comes back to why for you has unpacking your story, particularly with me, being so important to you being able to know how to support yourself. So it's really, for my aim at the end of these podcasts, is for people to go, I want to know more about me. I'm interesting. I need to unpack my story. I mean stuff, like all the things that have happened to me, there's a point to it, and I want to actually work out what it is. And there's a real, a self-empowerment in that for people to be able to embrace. Does that kind of make sense?
Yep.
And it's not manipulative, of course. It's more perspective shifting for them to go, I never actually realized that this impacts this. And I want to actually be
That's
able
like
to.
so perfect what you just said, because like when I first ever heard of you, like just heard of you, was, well, you met me like within a week of me first hearing about you. Actually, no, you met me that same day, I'm sure. I was there in your shop
You were
with
getting your
Jayla in
nails
the
done.
pram, and I was getting my
Yeah.
nails done.
Yeah.
And me like walking from my house to that little shopping thing and getting my nails done and just getting out with the pram with Jayla was like my moment in the day where I felt like I can just breathe. And there's people all around me and I'm outside and I'm going to talk to another human grown adult. And at that point, I had such debilitating anxiety to the point that I could barely swallow water. And that was the only thing I could consume. That's how bad my anxiety was. And in every waking conscious moment, so unless I'm dead asleep, it's the last thing I feel when I fall asleep, and it's the first thing I felt when I woke up. Like having Jayla, it was just all of a sudden, like everything that I had swallowed and buried deep inside myself my whole life as a way of like, I don't know what to do with this, so I'm just going to leave it all here and carry on. Like I've got to soldier on.
Yeah.
And having my own child and holding Jayla, everything just erupted in me. Like everything that I had buried down that had happened was now in my face.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at a human being that I carried and that I brought into the world, and all the thoughts of everything that had happened to me and was still happening to me was just like here, like I couldn't run away from it. And that ultimately, like not that I knew it then, but what I understand now, it was, I need to look at this. I need to face what's happened to me and the experience that I've had. And I need to find a way to like break through that, because there's a reason all those things happened to me.
Yeah.
Whereas what I was doing before is like, this is too painful. Like just run away from it, hide it, mask it, do something with it, but don't face what it's.
Yeah, I can run away from it.
Yeah. And so having Jayla, I couldn't run away from it, which was my anxiety, because then I was like completely stuck. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. And having that feeling and not even knowing the word anxiety. I didn't even know anxiety was a word. And I thought that I was going to feel that. I remember telling you, am I going to feel like this forever? Because I just thought I'd rather die than feel like this. Like I feel like I'm dying every day. And I was sitting there getting my nails done, and the lady that was doing my nails starts talking about how she feels and she can't breathe. And she was telling me something. She was sharing a story with me. And she's like, the anxiety is terrible. And I was like, she's talking about something that I'm feeling. So I start asking her more questions, like, what's anxiety? And we start talking about, oh my God, you need to go see Mel. You'll love it. And anyway, I remember you came out of your therapy room. Now I remember. And Jayla was in her black pram, and you came and said hello to us. And I remember when I first came to see you, this is what the unpacking thing. And when you were talking before about like, this isn't about like manipulating people. It's about letting them know there's an option, there's an avenue, there is another way that you may have not known before. And me meeting you was exactly that for me. It was like everything that I thought about, everything that I was feeling, my anxiety immediately went away. But then there'd be like, okay, so now we're going to deal with this. And I just kept coming back to you. And I remember at the beginning, I was seeing you like sometimes a few times a week, then once a week, then once a month. But for a fair bit, I was seeing you very, very regularly. And every single time, whatever I came to you with became a non-theme for me anymore. It's like, now I understand this. Now I know how to put this into the bigger picture of who I am. And it's like every time I was like thrown a new curveball or a new lesson or a new challenge or a new what the hell is going on, it's like you would help me understand and decode why this was happening in my life and actually why it was such a gift and why it was so good for me. So I would always walk away with this feeling like, I know it's really hard to like say this while it's happening, but the minute I'd walk away from your room or our session, I would always walk away with that feeling like, thank you. Like, thank you for making this happen. Thank you. And actually, thank you for the dreadful thing that I came to you with.
Yeah.
I would have a gratitude for that thing.
I think the most important thing that I hear a lot of people say is it makes sense of the things that you can't make sense with. And so what happens is when we can't make sense of something, we then panic more, and then we get overwhelmed or we get disconnected even more, and we become, life is just happening to us. We have no control to be able to move it anywhere, let alone understand it. And so that trapped and powerless feeling, which is such a big theme in people's lives, becomes so present that we absolutely lose ourselves and we panic. And so the making sense of even the simplest of things that we weren't able to make sense of and pulling the threads to make them fit in our picture is such a very empowering thing to do, to find that peace back. So we can actually, because anxiety means that I'm trying to control the future because I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And so when we go back to our experiences, and we'll talk about all that in a sec, when we don't feel safe, we have to control everything. But we also know we can't, which is why we panic. And panic attacks are horrendous because they overwhelm us in all of the way. They can make you pass out. You can go to hospital and you literally want to be knocked out, or your body, actually, your nervous system will knock you out for however many seconds to bring you back and reset you, because it's so overpowering. It's awful. So welcome to Life Unpacked with Mel. Today I have the beautiful Amila, and we have known each other for, it feels like a lifetime now, doesn't it? It feels like such a beautiful journey that we've gone through for both of us in learning and growing. And I'm so grateful for you to come on and share your story with us, because it's such a beautiful reconnection with yourself and of self-love. And that's been a long time and a long journey coming. But even in unpacking this, it's like, wow, where do we start? I do love how old were you? Let's go back to we did meet. We have a little chat about that before. How old were you? Can you remember when?
I was 19.
Yeah, 19 years old. So what was your status then? Like your marital status, your, baby, all that kind of stuff. How had you arrived at that point in your life?
So I was married, freshly married. I think I was a year into it. And I had just given birth to my daughter. And how did I get there?
Found your way into, I owned a beauty salon at the time, and I did kinesiology in there. And so we were blending all of the worlds of, self-love and care with, self-understanding. And so I remember coming out and seeing this beautiful, just young and lost. You were like a little deer in headlights going, what? I'm trying to raise a baby. I'm married. I don't know which direction to go in life. And you were almost waiting to be told how to live or what to do. And so even in our first sessions, it was, tell me what to do so I can feel better. We kept having to redirect it back to going, yeah, but you have your answer, and your answer's within you.
I remember how much that used to terrify me when you said that to me.
Yeah. Because you couldn't trust yourself.
Yeah. And I had no trust for myself. So when you would, and you'd do it so beautifully, where you'd like help me out, and then at the end you'd leave me with, but this is you're doing this. And that was something that always made me really scared, because I was like, I don't know how to do this. I'm not going to be okay. I need you. You were like my lifeline. I was like, I need you. It's not me. But it was that thing of, yes, I did need you, because you could see what I couldn't see, and you could help me connect what I couldn't connect, and form an actual understanding of why things were happening the way they were happening in my life, so that I could eventually get to a place where I can learn that I do trust myself and I can make the right call. But there was such a massive, there was no connection with me to me. I don't know. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything. And so hearing the words of learning to trust yourself or anything associated with self made me really scared.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Because even, you're in a marriage with a child with all of these life responsibilities. And when someone's like, tell me about you, you're like, well, there is no me in this. I'm just the roles that I do, rather than there's no connection to even the question, what do you need and how do you support yourself, which is my favorite question, which of course we can answer now. But back then you're like, I don't even understand what that means to be able to have that. So let's go back a little bit further to, where were you born and what's your position in the family?
So I was born in Bosnia, which is in Eastern Europe in the Balkan region. And I moved to Australia with my parents and my younger sister when I was somewhere between 3 and 4. And I am the firstborn in the family. And there's 4 of us. There's 4 kids now.
Yes.
So
So you're the
between me and my sister, there's a year and a half-ish, or like a year and 8 months. And then my 2 younger brothers, there's probably then 10 years and then maybe 14, 15 years between us.
Well, that's a big gap. So almost for me, that's like 2 different families,
Yeah.
because you and your sister would have one set of rules, and almost because you came from Bosnia, there's a connection back to being brought up that way, not that way necessarily, but being brought up from your parents, that's where their base was. And 14 years later, when you've lived in Australia for 14 years, you're just a different person. And you're a different person because you've parented before and all of the things that goes with that. And when you have your brothers as well that are that much younger, there's a role that you become a carer because there's a 10-year gap and a 14-year gap, rather than a sibling, that has that rivalry and the one-upmanship and all that kind of stuff. So that's quite
I
interesting.
was definitely I definitely assumed the parent role in the home, and I always felt this responsibility. In fact, I was told that it was my responsibility, but my entire life I felt not only responsible to protect them, to care for them, to teach them everything, which with my brothers, one of them will message me often and say, "Do you remember when?" And he remembers so many things that I did for him that were so significant for him. And he remembers them in such detail, and I don't remember it at all.
No.
And I would say absolutely the relationship that I've had with my brothers was very much like I was their mum more than their sister.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that too, in that I've seen it many times in positions in the family, because you're also you're that next generation, that it's easier for them to communicate with you and find support with you and say their truth with you, because you hold a different rule book. So we talk about, when we're born, our parents have a set of rule books that they're going to guide us to live by, but they didn't make the rule books. They were given them by the generation before them or the culture before them or wherever that came from, but they were given them. And so what happens is they don't question them, they live by them. And that can be at times catastrophic because there's no wiggle room in there. And so when your brothers were around, you didn't have your parents' rule book. In fact, your experience and from what we've talked about, you had to create a totally different rule book that was from a totally different place, because that was the only way that you were going to survive.
Yeah.
So what was your experience like as a child? So we have established that being responsible and being the protector, which is, again, being a firstborn child, it kind of naturally goes with that. So our souls kind of step into that role anyway it's in. So we know that that's your setup, that your soul set you up in that way. So yeah, let's go through a little bit about your childhood that you're happy to talk about.
Yeah. My childhood was incredibly difficult because I endured a lot of physical abuse from my parents regularly, often. And I can see now why my parents reacted the way that they did. It was their sense of fear or their sense of them losing control. But at the time and my entire life, I didn't see it that way. The way I saw it was, I must be so worthless and so wrong all the time, and I can't get anything right, and I can't please them. And like you were saying, like me trying to follow their rule books made no difference as to my, I guess, level of how safe I felt in my own home with my own mum and dad. I would get severely beaten up, but just anything. It could be anything. It didn't matter, big or small. And the way that things worked in our family as well were, if one parent was upset, which would usually be my mum, she's always sort of been the leader in the women as well. definitely holds more
Power. It's like the emotional
in the
leader.
power
It's like,
dynamic, yeah, than my dad. So
so her emotions kind of ruled the house.
dictated the house,
What
yeah.
happened next?
Yep. And so if she was angry enough and would make my dad angry enough, well, then they're both at us. But yeah, that was the thing. If she was upset about one thing, it didn't even have to be us, then we were all in trouble. We all knew that we were now all really in danger and you should find something to beat us up about. I'm not talking like a slap on the bum or something, like a shoe on the butt or something. Like I'm talking you would go to jail for abusing anybody in this way. And I think that sense of like deep protection that I maybe went from what you would normally feel as a firstborn child, like I'm going to be responsible and help you out and make sure you're okay, turned into I need to help my siblings survive. And it's interesting because we escaped the war in Bosnia.
Yeah.
And we escaped the war very interestingly because we came here for other reasons. We came here because my dad's auntie was living here. They were having family issues, family relationship issues abroad in Bosnia. And his auntie said, why don't you just come live with me for a year and see how you like it? It might be good for the girls. But when we came, within those months, the war broke out in Yugoslavia. So we couldn't go back.
Go back.
Which is how I ended up being Australian. But my parents' intention was always to go to back. They didn't like it here. And I'm now laughing a little bit to myself because it's like, yes, we escaped a war, but a new war was created in my home.
Totally. Yeah, correct.
It really felt like war.
Lived in the war because it wasn't just about surviving a family. It was surviving your life with the least amount of scars possible.
Yeah.
And not dying really at the end of the day. And that's not lighthearted. That's so as a child in that, you have that conflict because you also know that the parents or the people that are meant to make you feel safe are the people that you're terrified of at the same time.
Yeah.
So then your distraction goes not to you and making sure you're safe, but our survival goes to making sure the people we care about is safe.
Yeah.
So there's a real self-abandonment in that because you couldn't fight back for you. Because when you're so little in a situation that someone else has the rule book, the playbook, there is nothing that you can do. That's when we introduce that trapped and powerless feeling. As kids, we have different experiences, but we pull a feeling that comes through. So when we're not safe, that can come from so many different reasons. But when we're not safe in a way that there is nothing that's going to keep us safe, there's a real rule changing. It's like there's no foundation. So no matter what you do, one day you could do this and that's right, but the next day you do this and you actually get beaten up for it. And so because the rules change so continuously, there is no foundation that is solid enough for you to actually feel supported in. So this is the birth of anxiety because your ground is like this all the time. And so now the focus, you can't focus on you. You have to focus on getting other people out of the way of the war. Pretty much, which meant I imagine that you probably copped it more because you would put yourself in the middle.
Yeah. And I think as well, like you were saying just before, like the focusing on protecting other people, so my siblings, it was also then focusing on making my parents as happy and as comfortable and as pleased as they could possibly be, whatever it took, because then that would ensure some sense of we're going to be okay.
But that's so true because it's in that moment you're so hypervigilant in making sure that the world is smooth and there's no bumps because you're trying not to die or you're trying not to get beaten up. You're trying not to let anybody have an emotional reaction, particularly your mum. So it means that you talk of fight and flight and fawn and freeze. Yours is that real fawn that you overly indulge the space to make sure everything's perfect because you're only focused on the outcome. To do that, you have to totally abandon your needs at such a little age. And so your focus then becomes on making sure that this is set up in a way that it's going to be the least possible damage. But then what happens is something else happens one tiny little thing triggers something and it all blows up, which when you said it, you pulled the feeling through before, that real worthlessness and not good enough and not cared for. I think that's the end result of sitting in that for so long that we get to a point where we're so trapped and powerless, we wait for someone to rescue us because there is no other way out. That's how it's set up for us in childhood. But you got to the point where no one was rescuing you because no one could. No one, particularly back then, people didn't intervene in families. People didn't come in and, there was no help in that way. So surviving meant you had to shut everything down. You had to shut your needs down. And so for you, then it became that space that it actually didn't make sense. How can people love me, hurt me? So the only takeaway we have from that moment is because something must be wrong with me. Takeaway we have. Because we can't process, there's no other answer because we're too little to make it make sense. We're too little to big picture that to go because their rule book is caught up in all of the things. And I know you spoke before and you said, I can so see the line of where my parents came from and why this was part of their story that then became my story. But we have to make sure when we're unpacking your story that we get all of the truth, which we've worked really hard on because I remember speaking to you at the start for you to tell the story of what happened. You would just sob uncontrollably without being able to get the words out because you felt like you were betraying your parents, which also then made you feel not safe because you're betraying the people that were meant to keep you safe that didn't. So it's like we're back in that body of that little kid that is terrified that nothing she can do is right. So we had to be so gentle in being able to hold the space for your parents have their own story, but we're allowed to listen to your little girl's story. And your little girl's story is powerful and important because she's going to explain to us in the end what you need. And we need to tuck her in. And by God, have we worked hard to be able to let her have a voice and be heard and be seen and have needs and be loved and not be even abused by you. Because it's interesting because when we feel so, it's safe not being safe. It's safe people not care about you. It's safe people not noticing you. It's safe when you have to overgive to everyone else and not yourself. So your nervous system is actually the safest in not just chaos, but in unhealthy situations at times. And so from not dismissing your childhood at all, and obviously we'll come back to that at times when this conversation takes us back, but you went from there, you got married at
18.
At 18. How did that come about?
Well, at that time I had finished school and my intention was to move to Perth. I had a job there and I was moving to Perth. And I told my family I'm leaving. And it felt very interesting because it was the first time in my life where I was like, oh, I can actually tell them I'm leaving and they can't do anything about it. And it was a 2-week period between me finishing school, letting them know that, and me meeting my future husband. And I went with my childhood best friend, who's still a great friend of mine, and I went to an event with her that she'd asked me to go to with her. And her grandmother, who had known me most of my school life, she just comes up to me out of nowhere. She grabs my hand. So there's a lot of people. It's like a community event. And she just grabs my hand. And I knew the minute she grabbed my hand, I don't know where she's taking me. She just grabbed my hand, come with me. And as I'm walking behind her, being pulled by her, I knew exactly, just in here, I knew she's introducing you to someone. And then my thing was already no, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. And I arrived to this opening where I meet my future mother-in-law and my future neighbor who was going to live across the street from when I was married. And all I hear is her being like, oh, this is Amila and da-da-da-da. And she's introducing me. And then there's this man standing there who's 11 years older than me.
Wow.
Under a tree. And it's amazing. I could almost tell everything about his personality that I
Yeah.
soon discovered was actually how he was. Just in that moment, by how he stood and how his body was and his,
What did you see in that moment?
I saw deep arrogance. I saw a really fragile ego. And I saw someone who wants to be worshipped. And when I say worshipped, I'm talking about the kind of worship where you want a woman who goes with your flow, doesn't question anything, is submissive to your needs and whatever it is that you may or may not want.
It's almost literally an extension of your childhood.
100%.
Which is so interesting because remember we just said that those feelings are safe for your nervous system.
Yeah.
Even though they're all red flags.
Mm.
So your nervous system unconsciously would have reflected strong, powerful, going to look after me. I'm writing down as we talk.
Yeah.
Going to keep me safe, will be a good provider.
Mm.
I don't have to worry about anything. Like
Yeah.
a real lion energy. Do you know what I mean? But not our subconscious is like lion. Wow, I can relax in this. Not I'm going to be the mouse and absolutely terrified for my life again. And I'm literally going out of the frying pan into the fire without knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so beautiful for us because when we unpack a story, seeing my soul story pulled me from this experience. If we go back to feeling, I think the worthless is such a big part of not being able to step up for me to feel like I'm allowed to have a voice or I'm allowed to have a need or even an opinion. So when I was saying we first met before, you were invisible. You beautiful in who you are in your caring way because you were there to look after everyone else, but invisible to you.
Mm.
And that's that real, I don't have the worth, the voice, the need, the insight that I would want anything for me. It's like I'm not allowed. It's hard to find a word that means the feeling that I get so powerfully with that for you.
Mm.
It's like I just don't matter.
Yeah.
I just don't matter. Whether I'm here or not, I just don't matter. I'm just going to do what other people expect and want me to do. And that's how I'm going to live my whole life because that's how I'm not going to die. It's just how I survive.
And I think also as an adult, and to this day, I do have to be very conscious of this, is because it's just so intrinsically woven into my being as a human that when I see it, I'm like, oh, you're doing it, stop. Whereas now I can catch it like soon as I'm doing it.
It's the check-in.
And it's this sense, exactly, the check-in. It's this sense of I need to perform in some way so that I can have my sense of being worthy. So I don't need people to make me feel worthy because it's almost like I learned you're never going to get that. Actually, you get everything that says you're not that. So then my brain was like, okay, well, you do need to feel worthy. You can't feel worthless because it's like, I know that I'm worthy. I know that in here, but it's like nothing in life is showing me that. And so my brain's like, how do we engineer this in a way so that you can feel worthy in the world that you exist in? And so what I would do, which I can see is insanely clever now because our brains are insanely clever, is what I would do is I would be like, I met someone, okay, let me display like a peacock all the best things about me. And there are so many, but don't show anything. Don't show your pain. Don't show your emotions that are too heavy for people to bear. You have to just be perfect, but also you have to be perfect for them. So what I do is I analyze a person that I meet and I'm like, what are they like? What kind of personalities do they like? What kind of nature of a person do they like? What kind of things do they enjoy doing and not enjoy doing? And then I will almost like, this is crazy. I will almost build a prototype of myself and be like, here I am. And they will say, you're amazing. You're perfect. You're everything. And it never made me feel like, it's almost like if you had a test and you knew you cheated, but you got an A+, it's like, you're not really going to feel great about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that feeling of people being like, you're so perfect. Yes, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, I am perfect. My soul is perfect. But then there's the earth me that's like,
it's not real.
you don't even know me. You don't know me. And so, but I would find my sense of worth by how well can I become someone for this person in their life to enrich their life, to make them happier, to make them feel more connected, more anything. It doesn't matter. So I would find my worth almost in the role that I play in someone else's life.
Do you know how I explain that? I did a workshop a few months back, and it was the players in the game of life. Because again, we're talking about our earth experience brings out our earthiness. And your job is to make sure that you are kept and that you don't die and that you're safe. And so for you to be safe, you established as a little kid, I have to make them like me. And for you to work out that you're going to be liked, you have to be perfect. Now, you're not in a situation where there's that mental instability where it doesn't matter what you do, it's going to blow up. Cleverly worked out as we got out of that environment that you could control the situation. So remember, we go back to anxiety. We're talking about your crippling anxiety that has been your friend and your teacher for such a big part of your life. Your crippling anxiety would then lead you into go, if I can control this relationship from the beginning, I'm going to be safe.
Yep.
So the personality how I explain that is you become a chameleon, literally mirror them. You mirror what they like, what they need, what they want, how they are. You can absolutely be the perfect match to that person in so many ways, because that's what you learn as a little kid in how to do that in the situation. It's like a beautiful gift because these are the earth skills that we have. But that became almost self-destructive because each time you stepped into a relationship, you would become broken because you go, I so have disconnected from myself. And the more that we were connecting you to you, the more you found there's a real deep peace when we're connected to ourselves. And when we feel it, it's the truth. We're just aligned authentically to us. But when we step out of that, we feel it even more. And so the gap becomes like a rip in our little heart space. And so then we try and then use the other person to fill it. And so then we abandon ourselves more to pull them in more because we need them more. And then, of course, we feel like, ironically, we're totally out of control, which is when anxiety goes, hey, I'm coming back to spend some time with you and absolutely overwhelm your life and put you in the hole again. But we have a story to talk about.
Yeah.
Does that kind of make sense? So that's how I would explain from that therapeutic point of view, exactly that beautiful skill that you learn that we do. And it's the circle or the pattern that we do all the time that then makes us, when we don't realize what we're doing, it's so exhausting because we can't stop the pattern. Nothing you could do without being consciously aware of that would make you stop doing that.
Yeah.
And so this is why I think the power of being able to step out to see that big picture of what's happening, what's the feeling I'm trying to get, why am I doing that? And it's not to judge us going, I'm a dick, I shouldn't do this.
No.
I keep attracting the wrong type. It's to go, I'm doing that because that little girl needs to feel safe by abandoning herself. She can't have a need. That's the only way she feels safe. And then you're like, oh my God, I need to love her more. Come hang out with me.
The next 30 seconds could change your life. If you want to take the next step to work with Mel, go to Mel Orion 100% you on your Facebook or Instagram and direct message her the word work. From here, Mel's team will help direct you to what you need. You may want to explore at your own pace, or you might be ready to dive right in. No matter where you're at, Mel has the tools and programs in place to help you, support you. Mel Ryan, 100% you.
I want to retouch on why I think this part of your story is so beautifully significant. When I met you and you're 18 years old and we have, for me, that's the catalyst for your soul. And that's when, we have these beautiful life bonds, sometimes great, sometimes, scary. But these moments in life where that shift happens for you that you did not want this for her.
Yeah.
And so you're in a relationship where you realize that you've cookie cutted, if that's a term, your life as a child to your life in your marriage. My subconscious picked someone that was going to make me feel safe and protected. And I remember even the conversations in you having to see the truth, to step out and actually see, well, why am I so anxious at home? Why am I vomiting? Why can't I eat nothing but water? Why do I have the shakes? Why am I like this? And it's to recognize that because in your own space where you're meant to be the safest, loved, protected, looked after, and yes, potentially financially and, you know, shelter wise and all that is there was nothing there. And so that's a really confronting space. But for you, I think, and I'm not giving credit to your daughter, I'm giving credit to you to go, that shifted my whole being, which is that beautiful generational line to go, I'm the end of this line.
Yep.
I'm not going to let this be her story. I'm making this change. Do you agree with that?
100%. 100%. And to this day, I always let her know that she has been and will always be my greatest source of inspiration, because I have never known a love like the love I have for Jayla. I really call it unconditional love. And it's such a beautiful feeling to feel as well, which is, you could really do no wrong by me. I'm going to love you perfectly as you are always. And she allows me to experience this emotion, which is so beautiful, which is, I love you no matter what. Also, the love that I have for her. It's very interesting because the love I have for her, I always see her as a little baby. Like, even though she's a fully grown adult now, 18 herself, I see her as my little baby. And when I see that little baby, I see myself.
Oh, do you know, as you were saying this, I wrote down, you are giving her the love of what you needed as a child.
Yeah.
And the most beautiful gift when we're aware and we can connect with that is you get to love both. So as you're loving her and you're nurturing her through life, you give yourself permission to do the same for you. And I've seen you do that. I've seen you really embrace that in a way that, well, if I meant to love her, I meant to love me. I meant to be able to have a voice and say what I want and have a feeling and deserve good things and expect good things and want to meet in the middle in relationships and not abandon myself. Because what I want for her, you've stepped into what you want for you.
Yeah.
And that's the most beautiful, the whole your story and that big soul story. So I talk about the soul table. If I was typing out the script for what it was, I'd be like, oh, put a baby in here because the baby might give her that she's going to come back to her. And so other people might go, yeah. And so for me, if I was at that table to watch that evolve into the plan that made you connect back to you and love yourself in a way that is really quite unconditional and powerful in your healing journey, I'd be like, yeah, it worked.
Well, it's amazing that you say that, because I just had a thought of, you know, that I was with her dad for 8 years, and I knew before our first year in, that I had made a grave mistake. But there was now all these things that I felt at the time kept me there.
Yeah.
And he did a very good job of reminding me how naive and useless I would be at life, and that I would never find anyone as amazing as him. But I remember being in the Philippines, which is where we were living when I left him. And I remember looking at my daughter as she was just playing. And I remember looking at Jayla and thinking, if Jayla came to me with this issue, like this relationship, what would I say to her? I would be like, oh my God, I would take her hand and be like, we're leaving now. Yeah. And then I thought to myself, isn't it amazing that I want better for her than I want better for me?
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, but if I'm her mum and I'm teaching her a way to be, I'm teaching her everything she's watching. She can see everything that's happening. And that really was, it was a really pivotal moment, which was combined with a few other moments that week that actually made me split. Like, I mean, leave, like I just left. But it was this sense of, and I've always kept that with me, is, would I talk to her this way? So the thoughts that I have, would I talk to her this way? No. So don't do it to yourself. But also more than that is, if I want better for her, I need to want better for me, because she's otherwise observing me, and the choices that I'm making are very different to what I'm actually saying to her. And then
100%.
so I always wanted her to feel it doesn't matter how, secure you think you are financially, or how sweet you think your life is, or what everybody else would think, or what you stand to lose, or any of your fears.
All of
I
that.
wanted her to be like, you know what? And she may never understand this until many, many, many years down the track. But I always want her to have some reference point of being like, I remember my mum. And I remember, because she will, because there are things, I mean, I remember things that only made sense to me now that haven't made sense my entire life. And I think one of the most beautiful things that I can give her is to have a role model or some reference in her life of someone who
Amila.
really didn't have it easy and didn't have, in fact, had a lot of things go wrong for them, but also to have had the courage to just keep standing up and making the most difficult choices, even if they had to be done alone, because of really loving and needing to protect yourself, because there's no one else coming. And I would want her to grow up with the feeling of, I've got my back, not I'm waiting for someone to have my back.
And this is the beautiful shift in everything that is the foundation of coming back to learning how to listen to yourself and support yourself, is while there's people in your life that are going to come in and be stepping stones and magnets and help you see things and discover things and make sense of things, you're the one that is with you through every single experience of your life.
Yeah.
That awareness and knowing that the way I treat me is passing on how they're going to treat themselves. And we've slowly been working on that. But in that one moment, for you, move from I'm worthless, there's no point me having a voice, an opinion, a need, anything, to be I'm so worth everything. I am absolutely here to experience all the beauty that life has to offer.
Yeah.
And it's not that even that one moment of shifting into knowing that you matter is going to make you live happily ever after, because we're still having our earth experience. But it means the check-in doesn't get so lost that we have to get the experience. That's the bond that we wake up in the relationship where we've created a relationship that is less abusive than what it was when you were little, but not really so much in lots of ways emotionally or whichever capacity it is, to then go, oh gosh, this is again about me stepping in to support myself. And so the bridge of making that quicker or more powerful for you to see it now is incredible.
Yeah.
It's been such an honor working with you, because you're one of the people that we unpack something and you take it and run, and then you pop it into your life, and then you come back and you go, okay, this and this worked. Now I want to understand this. And so we unpack that, and then you come back in, and then it's kind of the next thing. And it's been really, for me, a real validation on knowing that the unpacking is, and the clarity to be able to make sense of something is where the power shifts back to us to be able to support ourselves moving forward. And that's all this is, life is. How do we go supporting ourselves, rather than falling in a hole waiting for someone to pull us out, thinking that no one's going to come because no one cared about us, which is where we get stuck.
Yeah.
And still can.
I would say yes to all of that. Yes, yes, yes. And the greatest gift that meeting you and having you in my life has given me is, before I say it, I remember when I was living in the Philippines, I couldn't access you because I used to come see you in person all the time, remember? And I remember on my flight going to the Philippines, so I lived there for almost 4 years. And I remember the first feeling I had was, she's so far from me. And I remember something that I did a lot was, because I was still learning and exercising that ability to listen to what I needed and how to actually turn up for myself and support myself. And that was something that I was practicing at that time. It wasn't something that, whereas now I can hold it and be like, yeah, I know how to do that for myself. Because of all the work that we did together, I would always say to myself, close your eyes and just imagine what Mel would ask you right now. And it helps me a lot of times. And sometimes I think I came to you once and I'm like, I asked myself what you would say, but I can't think of a single thing.
Yeah.
And that's because sometimes I think what I learned as well is it's like when you're, in prep at school and you have a test. All right, maybe that's too young. You're in grade 6 at school and they give you a test. And you do that test, but you're not going to get that same test when you're in year 9 and then the same test in year 12. And so instead of something that I learned to do is instead of being in year 12 and being like, oh my God, the year 12 test is so hard, I don't understand this, is to be like, yes, it's because now you're at this part of your life and you're being challenged to grow in a new way, not how you did before. So it's this sense of, yeah, my life will always have challenges and obstacles and painful, terrible things that happen. It's me who's growing through it all that now has a greater awareness of how to view everything that happens. And that's the greatest thing that I learned with you. If I had to put it in a box, it would be there will always be hard times and there will always also be good times, of course. But the issue now, the question is not how do I live a life where bad things don't happen to me? It's like whatever may come, I now trust that me will be able to deal with it as it happens. And that is, I just got goosebumps. That is my truth. And that is the most empowering and powerful gift that I've ever received in my life from another person. And I got that from you, Mel. And I love you for that.
So I love you too so much. Your ability to shift and move, if I asked you the question, do you love yourself? I know that your answer is genuinely with my whole heart. I love myself. And to help someone shift from not wanting to be there and not wanting to participate in life and how and not feeling like they mattered to someone that celebrates themselves in every opportunity that they can is being probably one of my greatest honors. So I'm so grateful for you because you're such a beautiful validation that this works. And while people might think that this is the Disney Channel and it's happily ever after, you and I both know that there will always be things to unpack.
Yeah.
And that little girl that felt safe by having her nervous system so dysregulated still exists.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't just get rid of what happened, we take it with us. And we recognize our patterns and we recognize when she's antsy or she's getting a voice or she's attracted to the bomb person that's going to take us down the anxiety path, or we recognize the chameleon part of us that comes out that goes, I did just absolutely abandon myself totally in that conversation. But now instead of us doing it and hating ourselves, we giggle in a way, I totally just did that.
And it's kind of cute because it's like you see that part of yourself, like, it's so cute. We don't need to do that anymore. But it's like to be able to even get to that place where you can, one, see it, but then have a giggle at yourself because you think it's so beautiful and adorable.
Yes.
And then also be like, and feel so firm in, and yeah, we don't need to do this anymore. That combination, like if you had told me, oh my God, if you had told me when you met me when I was 18 that this version of me would ever exist, no part of me would believe it. Like, but it's like, you have to turn up and you have to do the work and you have to be open, you have to be vulnerable. And
it's also being, I think, too, exactly agreeing with what you're saying, but it's separating your life in a way that you step out of the emotion and you look at it in facts. Yeah. Because when we look at it in facts without having the guilt, I don't want to upset my parents, I don't want to upset people, the facts make us be able to see it so clear that it's easier to unpack. And
100%.
the more we can unpack and we pull the threads, which is that, wow, worthless is a thing for me, that you're like, wow, I actually treat myself like I'm worthless. Holy shit, that's a thing, is such an epiphany. And the next thing too I want to touch on for people listening that I think is really important is when we say do the work is different for everyone.
Yeah.
So for you, the work was leaving because you went to the Philippines because it really gave you space to not be living under anyone else's expectations. So I think there was a freedom to find yourself there because it's, correct me if I'm wrong, much simpler. So you got to listen to you a lot more. And then when we were saying before, it's in these relationships, like, I don't even know who I am. You didn't even know what you liked for dinner because you just ate what someone else liked and what you cooked for them. So now you're in a space where you learn, well, I like this food and this food, and I actually like going for walks, and I like moving my body, and I like this kind of music, and I like dressing in these clothes, and I like real conversations, and I actually like cooking, and I like working with herbs, and I like, so even in knowing that part of you, it's like doing the work becomes a part where we let life take us where it needs to take us.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was, if we couldn't talk online or whatever, it was, I'm going to journal. So even when you're asking what would Mel say, what you're doing is you're going back in to go, how can I find a way to listen to me?
Yeah.
And so I know journaling has been a big, beautiful part of your story because you were able to separate your current self from your inner child self that was very powerfully traumatized. And so she, and we talk about sabotage and all of that, she had to keep you safe and not let you die and not let any of your family die. So you would try and do something and she would run in and sabotage everything because it's the only way that she knew how to keep you safe.
Yeah.
So it was doing the work to calm her, recognize her, that she was coming in like a bull at a gate, to be able to then deal with her with a, you know, like a hot chocolate, a teddy bear biscuit and a weighted blanket and wrap her up before we can come back to go, actually now let me look at the situation.
Yeah.
And so is there any other ways that you think that really helped you in helping to find the space to find you, like bars or self-care? I know has been a big, beautiful part of your story.
Exercise has been a major one for me. So, and it didn't matter what type of exercise, like it's always changed, but moving my body in a way that felt good, and also moving my body in a way that matched the emotion that I was feeling. Like if I needed calm, I would do something calming. But if I really felt a lot of rage or anger or confusion, I would do something really aggressive like boxing or and I felt that then that's also listening to my body. It's like, what do I need right now? Like, actually, I need this.
I'm going to do yoga when I want to punch someone. It's not
right. You can't. No way. And I think as well, definitely traveling and spending time alone, which is so interesting because I'm so incredibly sociable. Like I'm great around people. I bring people together. I have a lot of energy, but for me, this is like my offline time, if that makes sense. Like I'm not online with myself
I like that.
when I'm around a lot of people, because my natural instinct, which is sometimes so exhausting to fight, is I want everyone to feel included, comfortable, happy, taken care of. So even
that's that inner child coming in to make you safe in the group.
Exactly.
And the bigger the group, the more people you have to do that with. And because we know it doesn't mean it's going to go away. We just accept it to go, okay, that's me. I'm going to go around, make sure I know everyone, everyone's good, everyone's got what they need, all that kind of stuff, because you have to do it. We can't say to your little inner child, don't do that. You actually find this as a safe space. Because she will say, well, you can get fucked. I'm going to do it anyway.
And that's so true. And so that's why it's like I accept that this is a part of me. And I love that part of me as well now, because I'm like, what a beautiful thing that came out of it. Like I take care of other people. Like that's a really beautiful thing. Yeah. And I don't want that to change.
Check in though that we don't actually have to do it to the point that we detriment ourselves.
And that's it. And that's exactly it. And this is why I am very particular about how I spend time with people and when and how long and who and how many. I'm very, very particular about it. But when I do it, I feel good. I feel energized because I've done it with all of this awareness of what we're talking about now and in balance. But where I find my true energy and my true peace and my true sense of reflection and like my aha moment where things process is when I'm alone in nature I mean, there
Oh.
can be people around me. They just can't be talking to me. Like, they can't be my business. And so it really doesn't matter what I'm doing. I could be gardening, I could be driving, I could be hiking. As long as I'm alone, in the sense that I don't need to take care of anybody right now and nobody's coming to me with anything, and that I'm actually doing something, I would say I find that probably the most helpful, because things just seem to, like, there'll be a gush of wind, so all my puzzle pieces are everywhere.
Yeah.
But somehow when I'm moving my body, but also completely alone, and either I'm taking in really beautiful sights or I'm doing something, it could be cooking or gardening. Like I said, it doesn't matter.
It's like a meditative kind of exercise.
Yes, everything just starts falling into place. And I think a big part of it is I don't tell myself that these things are a worry anymore. I just say, I trust that the answers will come to me at the right time. And that in itself is been a really difficult thing to come to. But I'm able to say that now, where I say, this is a problem that I'm facing, and I also trust that the answer will come at the right time. And then I'll just do stuff. And it
Yeah.
does. It
does.
the
It comes
pieces fall. Yeah.
I think that for me, that beautiful space that you're talking about is the ability to, it's almost connect to our higher self. It's our real soul connection. And that's the essence of us being able to listen to ourselves. And the more we stay in that space, or the more we can find that space, the less we need to control the world and what happens and the future and all of that, which means anxiety disappears, because we know that no matter what happens, I've got me.
Yeah.
Which is what that beautiful part of what you were saying before. It shifts everything to be able to live knowing that it's like heaven on earth to me is peace in chaos. It's not that everything's going right in your life. It's that you know that it doesn't matter what happens, that you're going to make sure that you can bring yourself through. In that, you can find what that experience is. And it's the gratefulness. I just did a beautiful workshop last night on gratefulness. And it's talking about the entirety of gratefulness is actually us being able to connect, not just with ourselves, but with the soul truth of other people. And we've hijacked gratefulness to make it, you should be grateful because someone did this, which really tarnishes the essence. Whereas when we're so connected, we're grateful for life, our experiences, our selves, our inside, all of that, other people, in the way that they're part of our moving to understand our story. And there's a real peace in that. And I love that more of your days you live like that than otherwise, because again, it's not the Disney Channel. And we do have the moments that we come in and go, what was that? What is happening? But we also know that we're going to be able to unpack it. And sometimes we still do that together, because it's such a beautiful way to hang out and, kind of make sense of things quickly. But it's a beautiful part of your story is that shift now.
Yeah.
I really love watching you do life. I think you're an incredible woman, and I think you're such an inspiration to so many people, and you should be really, really, and I say this, in a way to honor you, proud of how much you've held the space for yourself to work out your story and work out how to love you.
I am. I really am.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mel.
It is, it's such an honor to hold the space for you to show up for yourself.
Yeah.
And you absolutely have. And so
Thank you.
I am just so glad that we will forever be friends.
Forever.
Forever. Yeah, forever be friends. Is there anything that you want to say to anyone, out there that's having a moment or thinking that, well, yeah, but this sounds like it's all too hard, but I've had stuff that was so awful for me. I don't know if I can unpack it. Particularly too, I think you said before, let me ask you 5 questions at once. But anyway, I think it's the fear of a lot of people. If we know that we've been through a massive shit show, let's call it what it is, the fear of thinking we have to relive it is what makes us not revisit it.
Yeah. And my God, that's such an important point, because the fear of having to sometimes just talk about something really horrific or like relive horrific things, it's like you're putting yourself really in that moment all over again, and it's exhausting, and it takes a lot out of you. My thing would be, if fear, and it has been for me as well, if fear is the greatest thing holding you back, so the fear of having to relive it or re-experience it in some way, if that is the thing that's holding you back, what I can say with my hand on my heart is, if you're able to, in some way, talk, even to yourself, like out loud, like record yourself, or write it down, or even just cry it out, like let yourself cry, like really like ugly cry, or talk to you. Like it's easy for me to say because I love you and I trust you and you've been that person for me. But had I not known you, I'm thinking, what would get me to you? I have found that every time I have talked about my story, and I've talked about so many of incredibly, incredibly painful, terrible, terrible stories, I've always felt it differently, and I've never felt it quite the same. So something would stand out a bit more than it did last time, or something would hurt a lot less this time than it did last time, or I'll find that the way that I'm talking about it is totally different. And all of this is important because if I'm not talking about it, I'm missing out on all these opportunities to put the story together, to really make sense of, oh my God, how did I not see that? Yes. Or really, that's the only way I can put it. It's like something new comes every time, and I become more, the word resilient, like I don't mean it in this like, oh, resilience word. Something in me becomes more
shifted.
It shifts in a way that doesn't affect me like it used to.
It's like the power returns to you.
Yes. Exactly. Okay, that's exactly it. So you're doing it again. So it's like every time I'm able to tell the story, or every time I need to tell the story, because I need to get past something or grow from something or find peace in something. What did you say? Say it again.
The power returns to you. The power shifts.
I take my power back.
Yeah.
I take my power back. And when I take my power back, the way I feel about the thing and the way I think about the thing completely transforms.
It's so important. I think in explaining that from my perspective, it's like when we have a trauma, it's that little girl part of you that gets stuck in the trauma, that she's just trying to make sure that never happens again, and you never feel as bad as that possibly is again. So we go into damage control because we don't have an understanding of the why in it, and not the why of why would someone do that, the why that we could possibly live through this kind of experience.
Yeah.
And so for me, by unpacking a trauma, and sometimes, as we were saying before, it's from the facts rather than the emotion. When we relive it, we get stuck in the blame of why would someone do that to me? You can't get up from that, because why would someone do that for you? Because you wouldn't treat anyone else like that. And that was the shift of why you had to do this work when you had your daughter, because that's where you were stuck. I can't believe how someone would actually do this to another person. I love this child with every cell of my being, and I'm so broken now because I don't understand why someone would do this.
Yeah.
And so that's the trauma. That's the biggest trauma in itself.
Yeah.
And so for us to be able to go in to pull that apart, it's then going, this understanding why you went through this is your experience, to put all your little puzzle pieces together to make you understand your soul self, what I'm learning. It's like unpacking a trauma frees us to empower us to know who we are as a soul with our earth experience, which actually has nothing to do with the people that did anything to us. They're not even in the conversation as we unpack it, because we're shifting it to get the perspective that makes sense to us in a way that we can step forward. So for me, it's like, yes, this happened, but I'm now forever changed, and this is how I support myself. Whether it be with a boundary, with a voice, with a determination, with a not self-abandoning, with I am worth more. I do deserve something. I do want more things for me. So it shifts the brokenness of where we were stuck with that. I don't know how to, I'm just worthless. It's my only takeaway I could get to now be, wow, do you know what? Why that happened, why someone did that is their story. What I do from that is my story.
Exactly.
And it's separate the two.
Exactly. Also seeing, I think a really big thing for me is seeing, because as you were talking about that, it's like I actually love my parents entirely and completely. I didn't grow up feeling like that, but I love them completely. I accept them completely. And I genuinely feel that way about, I've gone through some pretty horrendous intimate relationships. I can genuinely love these people in my life that I would say have caused me the greatest pain. Yeah. But I can genuinely love them and thank them. It's this feeling of thank you. It's the feeling of thank you is like if a stranger gives you a flower, you'd be like, thank you. That's the feeling I have towards their souls for being exactly who they are. And that's a really big thing because I can now see through the work that we've done. Everything was just perfect. Everyone has done what they needed to do because that's what my soul needed to become who I am now. And who I am now, I wouldn't exchange that for the world. So I have to thank all of these people. And it also means that the way I see the really terrible experiences that happened, yes, they're terrible when we talk about them, but there's a part of me that sees them actually as something really beautiful. That was a part of my story that made me who I am today.
I absolutely get that too. And I think that comes with the processing of really anchoring in the truth of knowing who we are. It's like getting to know this version of us to go, I never want to not be this version of me. Because I love the fact that I can hold the space and understand when someone explains to me their trauma. I'm like, oh yeah, I can feel that. I relate to that. I can find that in my story. And so for me too, in going back, there was a time that we collect tickets of all the traumas that happened to us. So we almost play the card game of whose life was worse, which is what, people do and what traditional therapy can sometimes be like. Whereas this way, it's being able to see it from a totally different perspective. And it's still recognizing our earth self went through a shit time. Yeah. And, if I said to her, hey, calm down, you wanted this, which is what people sometimes say in the spiritual space, she's going to beat me up. So I have to be so mindful that it was hard and she was broken and she's healing and she will still be healing all my life. And so I need to tuck her in and make sure that she's okay. But I also take her on a journey to my current life and show her this is how fucking amazing we are. Yeah. This is how much space we can hold. This is why we do the job that we do. This is why we help people unpack things to see it in a way that it's not what happened. It's who they want to become. It's not how they're broken and stuck. It's how they empower themselves to live in a way that they free themselves to feel worthy and to love themselves and to then share that authentic, beautiful version with the world. Now, when I can bring her to see this, she softens. And that's exactly what you're saying. I suppose I'm saying the same thing. It's how I kind of explain it from my perspective. Yeah. So I'm so forever grateful for all of the things I went through too, but I still hold the space for her to have grieving days, tanty days. There'll be moments where she gets triggered and I just giggle because I'm like, whoa, I'm 14 right now and I've just totally lost my shit at my family. Yeah. And it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Or attracts the relationship that 3 days in and you're like, what am I doing?
Yep. Sometimes it's even just a day in and you're like, okay.
Yes. And that's the beautiful thing because we do the check-ins. It gets quicker and quicker to go, hang on a minute. What's happening? Yeah. What a beautiful podcast. I am so grateful for you.
I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. I'm really honoured to have this little space.
You know, I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Life Unpacked with Mel Ryan. If someone in your life is going through their own life bomb, please share this episode with them. These stories may be exactly what they need to hear. Remember to follow or subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you feel called to unpack your own story with me, you're always welcome to reach out through my website or social media. Thank you for being part of this space. Be kind to yourself, be curious, and remember the answers you've been looking for have always been inside you. I'll see you at the next episode.